Hey bookworms, welcome in. It's the last day of April, so let's do an April wrap up. First, the stats, because if you're a nerd like me, we like stats, okay? I read in the month of April 4,750 pages, which is wild. I kind of set like a soft goal of 3,000 pages a month. I definitely hit that. I read 15 books. All 15 of them were for my TBR. I'm so excited. So now my physical TBR total is down to 206. Next month, my goal is to finally break into the 100s, which I've been trying to do for over a year. I read from 9 new to me authors. My average star rating for the month was 3.58, which I think is pretty good. Over the past year, I've been trying to get a lot of books off of my physical TBR. I've had like kind of a lower average rating because a lot of these books I bought several years ago and my taste was different. I think that's pretty good. They can't all be winners, right? That puts my year-to-date total that I've read so far in 2026 up to 44 books. Without further ado, let's just get into it. The first book I read this month was nonfiction, Jane Austen's Notebook, The Lifetimes and Writings of Jane Austen by Sophie Collins. I found this at Half Price Books and I love Jane Austen. She's one of my favorite authors, but also like I just think she's so interesting and her life is so interesting to me, so I bought this. It's nonfiction. It goes over her family, where they lived, where they started out, what her parents did, like the timeline of their family tree, all her siblings, and then it goes kind of to them moving when her father retired and her starting to write and kind of having troubles getting published and all the struggles she went through with that, and then like her marriage proposal that she ended up turning down. And then it also includes some artwork and letters that were important during the time that she was alive, letters to and from her friends, from other friends that knew her, because her sister actually burned a lot of her letters for privacy's sake, and so a lot of Jane Austen's history has kind of been erased. There's letters from her friends to her other friends that kind of talk about her or her writing. I just thought this was really interesting. If you are interested in Jane Austen, I think you'll like it. And I do not rate nonfiction, so I didn't give this a rating, but I did really enjoy it and it was a quick read. The next book I read was a reread, Goal Lines and First Times by Eden Finley and Saxon James. This is a comfort read for me. It's book 3 in the Colchester U series, Queer Hockey Romance. I just love this freaking book. I love the characters. I just love them so much. And I love the writing. These authors write really well together and I love the pacing, and this also has some of my favorite tropes in it. I really love this book. I've read it like 3 or 4 times now. If I'm ever like in a slump and just like don't feel like reading, just like pick this up at night while I'm laying in bed and read it on my Kindle. So it's definitely a 5-star read. Also, if you want to know what this book is about, it's about Seth and Cohen who go to rival colleges. They meet online. They don't know who they're talking to. They end up figuring it out and we go from there. I talk more about this book in another video about my 5-star reads that I'll be posting soon. The third book I read this month was Garen Park by Nordica Knight. I've never read a book from her before. I was gifted this book so kindly from one of my friends over on Instagram, from Natalie on Instagram. This was gifted to me a couple years ago, I think now. This is queer romance and it's kind of like rivals slash enemies to lovers. It's about 2 guys, Devin and Maddox, and they race like dirt bikes and their brothers are best friends and they live in the same trailer park and they have like really difficult lives and they come from really difficult backgrounds and deal with like abuse, and they end up not liking each other, but also there's a lot of similarities between them and things they have in common. And there's a little bit of like hurt comfort in the beginning of it that kind of brings them together. This is book 1 of a series and I do plan on reading the rest of them. I gave this book 4 stars. It was fast, easy, I just enjoyed it. And then I read The Gravity of Us by Phil Stamper. This is a queer YA like wannabe sci-fi book. I feel like thinking about Artemis lately and like also watching Project Hail Mary when it came out kind of made me want to read books like this. So this book follows Cal and Leon. Cal's dad applied to be one of the engineers that goes up on this spaceship that's in the news, and so him and his entire family are like uprooted and have to move to a whole different state, and he meets Leon, who is the son of another woman who's gonna go up in this rocket. They end up having a little fling. Cal wants to be a broadcaster or like a reporter someday, but he's just in high school. He's doing it all on social media right now, and he has a huge following, and the company that's running the launch of the spaceship is like trying to shut that down. It was interesting. I got bored at times, but it wasn't terrible. I rated this 3 stars. It was a good time. I'll probably forget most of it. It was alright. Then I read The American Roommate Experiment by Elena Armas. I have had this book on my TBR for literal years. I bought it very early on when I first started getting into watching videos of other people reading and getting their recommendations and things. I rated this book 2.5 stars. It was okay. I liked the male main character, but I didn't really like the female main character. So this follows Rosie, who had some issues with her apartment, so she, without telling her best friend, let herself into her apartment to stay because her best friend's like traveling, and turns out her best friend also told her cousin Lucas that he could stay there, so she thinks he's breaking in one night. Turns out he's just trying to get into his cousin's apartment to stay because he's traveling, and they like fall in love, and it's a whole thing. I didn't really like the female main character, and a lot of times I found myself bored. This book was spicy at times, but then other times I like just couldn't find myself even caring. I give it 2.5 stars. Next, I read Conventionally Yours by Annabeth Albert. I have had this on my TBR for years, and I finally got to it. It is a queer romance. It follows Conrad and Alden. They have this like little group of guys that they play card games. It's kind of, or is it card games, dice games, whatever. It's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons vibes. It kind of gives like Big Bang Theory vibes, like how they all get together and play Dungeons and Dragons in the episodes. There's this group of guys and they play this game, and they started recording it, and they actually got a little bit like internet famous. They have a ton of followers that watch them play every week. On the outside, Conrad seems like this really outgoing, like popular guy. Everybody loves him. He's like the life of the party, but in actuality, he is struggling. He has multiple jobs. He's barely making ends meet. He's worried about where his next meal is going to come from, but he doesn't want his friends to really know that. And then Alden is neurodivergent, and everyone thinks that when he says things, he's snappy or aggressive or like a know-it-all, but really he just really struggles with like social interactions and doesn't know really that he's coming off as being rude. So this group of guys is supposed to travel across the country to this convention. The older guy, the professor that they like, that owns the store that they do this at, he can't go because something happens to him. So this group of 3 guys sets out. Well, then one of them has to up and fly out because he's got like family issues. So it leaves these 2 guys alone traveling across the country together, and they hate each other. And then they slowly start to like kind of understand each other better and understand where they're coming from, and they develop a relationship, and then they have to go play in a contest against each other for thousands of dollars. Things get rocky from there. I gave this book 3 stars. It was pretty interesting. Didn't feel totally connected to the characters, and again, it's like a gamer vibe and a lot of travel time that sometimes could get repetitive and boring, but I thought the characters were cute. Overall, this is probably not something that I'll like remember forever, or you know, it's just like not one of the book loves of my life, but it was fun while I read it. Next, I read Playing Dirty. I started this on a girls' read treat. My friend Maddie, it was her birthday and she wanted to do a girls' retreat, so she made us all shirts, and we got an Airbnb and we just like sat and read and had a great time. But I started Playing Dirty by C.E. Ricky on my Kindle. All her books are on Kindle Unlimited. This is book 4 of the Leighton U series. It's queer hockey college romance. I rated this book 5 stars. I will talk about it in another video of my 5-star reads, but basically it follows Theo and Madden. They play baseball at rival colleges, and then their parents get married and they don't like each other, so that's a whole mess. And they're like forced to spend holidays together, and a little bit of forced proximity going on. I liked the writing, I liked the characters, I liked the side characters. Like, I just had a really fun time with this. I love C.E. Ricky's writing so much. She has a way of doing emotional scenes really well, but her writing is just so beautiful. So 5 stars, loved it. Then I read Our Intimate Fates by Laura Stephen. I got this a year or two ago at Barnes & Noble. Honestly, I just bought it because the cover is freaking gorgeous. The book is gorgeous. And it's advertised as The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue meets This Is How You Lose the Time War. I freaking love V.E. Schwab and Addie LaRue. And she also put a blurb on the front, impossible to put down. So I had to have it. This follows Evelyn and Arden. They're like reincarnated. They have to kill each other before or on their 18th birthday. And then they're like reincarnated into different people, like different lives, and they have lived for centuries and they just keep killing each other, but they are in love with each other, and you don't know why they're killing each other. Evelyn doesn't know why they're doing this, why they have to kill each other. She doesn't remember. Her memory's faded, but Arden remembers, and he won't tell her because he says it'll hurt her to know. And so you're following them in their present day lives, and you're also seeing flashbacks of all their previous lives and different ways that they've killed each other and different people that they've been. Very interesting plot idea. Didn't really like the way it was executed. I liked the flashbacks a lot, but the present day like wasn't that interesting to me. I don't know, the writing just didn't suck me in. Like Addie LaRue, the writing was so beautiful. This just didn't have that vibe. It's good. The plot was interesting. It just didn't give me all the vibes that I wanted. It didn't really make me feel anything. 3 stars. Maddie, if you're watching this, look away. Next, I read How to Save an Undead Life by Haley Edwards. This is my best friend's favorite book, so she bought us each a copy at the girls' retreat and told us we had to read them. She's very much into paranormal books, so this is like a 20-book series. She's read them all, she liked them. So she told us we had to all read them, and this follows Greer Woolworth. Basically, she just got out of prison for killing her mother, which she didn't really do, and she tells you that from the start. It's not a spoiler. And she gets out of prison and she goes back to the Woolworth mansion that she lives in, and it's haunted. She also leads haunted mansion tours, like it's a touristy town, and she does that for a living. But she's also a necromancer, and apparently she's like a really powerful one, but they never tell you why or how. Because it's a 20-book series, we gotta build up suspense. So in this book, they tell you nothing. It's 200 pages of nothing but this vampire trying to put the moves on her and then kidnapping her. This was crazy. Also, she's in love with her best friend's brother, but they can't be together. I didn't understand a lot of what was going on in this book, and just not my vibes. I'm sorry. I gave this 1 star. I will not be continuing the series again. Maddie, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, look away. Next, I read Granite Mountain. This is another nonfiction. I watched this movie a couple months ago. Freaking loved it. So emotional. It takes a lot to make me cry. I was like getting teary-eyed during that whole movie. Very emotional, very good. So then I wanted to read the book. This is by Brandon McDonough. He is the lone survivor of the Yarnell Hill fire, and all the other Granite Mountain hotshots passed away. This is his story of how he got on with the hotshots, what he went through, just stories about them, and then his recall of the day of the fire, what happened, and then he goes into more detail than the movie about what happens afterwards, which is very hard to read, very emotional. But the movie didn't really give us a lot of that, and that's what I wanted, is like he went through this huge thing, and like how did he keep himself going afterwards. Very interesting read. I didn't rate it because I don't rate nonfiction, but I highly recommend the book and the movie. The next 5 books, if you watch my 24-hour readathon that I'll be posting shortly, you'll see me read. I read The Poisoned King. This is book 2 of the Impossible Creature series by Catherine Rundell. This is middle grade fantasy. I bought the first book because there was dragons on it. I'm a sucker for dragons, okay? I don't care if it's middle grade. Read it, really liked it. Then I got the second book and I really liked this too. For being middle grade, it's very interesting. I love the writing style. I love the world. I really like the characters. There's very funny moments, but then also like emotional moments. I give this 4 stars, really like it. Even though it's middle grade, you should check it out. I can't wait for book 3, which I think is coming out this year. And then I read The Goal. This is book 4 in the Off-Campus series by Elle Kennedy. I bought this entire series a couple years ago when I got into BookTube and Bookstagram, and I followed Steph 4, and she recommended a ton of romances, and she recommended this series, and this series was really popular at the time, a very beloved series, so I bought the entire series without even reading the first book or knowing what it was about. I think I've rated all the first 3 books 4 stars. They're like fun, smutty, fast-paced romance. It's a good time. This one is probably my least favorite so far. It follows Sabrina and Tucker and their fling that turns into an accidental situation. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but if you've read the 3rd book, it's already spoiled. This was a fun time. I really liked the main characters, but there was a couple situations where I was like, what the fuck did I just read? It was a fast, entertaining book. 3-star vibes. Oh my gosh, next I read The Ending Writes Itself by Evelyn Clark, which is V.E. Schwab and Kat Clark co-writing this book together. I am not a big thriller fan, and I absolutely freaking loved this book. This is about a bunch of authors who think they're going to a famous author's like retreat, and when they get there it turns out he's dead, and instead they're being asked to compete for the chance to finish his last book. And a bunch of crazy stuff happens from there. The twists were twisted and the turns were turning, and I had no clue what the ending was going to bring. I did not call the ending at all. I really had a fun time with this. I was flying through it on my readathon. I just really enjoyed this one. If they co-wrote another book together, I would read it in a heartbeat. 5 stars. Highly recommend. Then I read Taylor Jenkins Reid, One True Loves. Okay, Taylor Jenkins Reid is a 3 to 5 star author for me. Some books of hers I freaking love, and others are like, pretty good, you know. One thing about her though, all her characters have a lot going on, like they make you feel things. This book had me sobbing from the very freaking beginning. You're gonna see in the video, it's embarrassing. I don't cry. There's only like 2 books that have ever made me cry. This book had me sobbing on my couch in the wee hours of the morning, just crying my little heart out. This book follows Emma, who was born and raised in this tiny town. She married this guy who's also born and raised from a tiny town. He dies in a tragic accident, so she's, walking along the street one day, living her best life. She's moved on, it's been years, and all of a sudden she gets a phone call. He's alive, okay? This happens in the first chapter, I swear I'm not spoiling anything. But then you follow her and what the heck is she supposed to do from there, because she's engaged to this other man who she's known forever that grew up in this tiny town. It's just very heartbreaking and emotional, and I loved it so freaking much. 5 stars. 5 stars, 5 tears. 5 million tears. And then to end my 24-hour readathon, I picked up Boyfriend Goals by Riley Hart. Typically, Riley Hart's books are just fast reads for me. They are queer romances. I just wanted something easy to read after One True Loves destroyed me. So I picked this up. It's been on my TBR forever. It follows Milo and Gideon. Milo inherits a bookstore with an apartment over it in this tiny little town from his biological grandmother that he never met. So he goes there to learn more about his history, the town, his grandma, and Gideon, who owns the tattoo shop next door to the bookstore, lives in that apartment. He's renting it from this grandmother. Milo comes to town and he's like, oh, I'll stay in a hotel. And Gideon's like, no, it's your apartment. You should stay there. So they end up being roommates. And then it's a whole like roommate to lover situation. And Milo is autistic. And they kind of navigate how to be in a relationship, all the things that come with that, and the financial aspect of it where Milo literally owns Gideon's entire home. I didn't love this book. Riley Hart's writing is usually either just a hit or a complete miss for me. She has written a couple books that I enjoyed, but a lot of her books, I just don't like the writing. It's very, like, the pacing is weird. The things that the characters say are weird. Like, I know Milo is supposed to be neurodivergent, but some of the things that she has him say and the conversations that these two have are just, like, odd. The vibes are weird, okay? So I just didn't really like this one. I don't know, it's probably like a 1.5 or a 2 star. Not my fave. Alright, so that's all the books I read this month. Can't wait to see what May has in store. My goal is to get below 200 books on my physical TBR next month, so I'll be working on that. Thanks so much for watching and hanging out with me. I'll see you in the next one. And in the meantime, I'm sending forehead kisses and good reading vibes. Bye.